Alright, so we've started to get down to the nitty-gritty and hash it out. Now, how do we go from sounding like we're playing exercises to sounding like we know what we're doing? If you want to be a great improviser, you have to transcribe, a lot. That doesn't mean you have to learn entire 10-minute jazz solos every time. The point of transcribing, again, learning by ear, not necessarily writing down, is to become fluent in the language. Call it ear training, call it oral skills, whatever. One big mental mistake that inexperienced players make is thinking, I don't want to play like anyone else, just like myself. They think that learning someone else's notes will make them into a clone, and it's so far from the truth. It would be like going to a foreign country and trying to speak the language cold. It's asinine. Those other players show you the building blocks of a language. The other essential skill that transcription builds is the ability to hear in larger chunks. Again, as in language, the only way you start hearing sentences and ideas instead of translating each word and then putting them all together is by doing it a lot. The only way you get better at hearing larger chunks of music is by understanding the smaller bits. How could you ever hope to build a computer without taking one apart and learning what purpose each piece serves? So you may say, okay, I'm down to learn some stuff by ear, but how does it help to develop my own style? Well, everything that you consume goes through your filter. What does that mean? It means that every time you listen to something, you have the opportunity to take what you like and discard what you don't, just like playing 5-card draw poker. We keep the good cards and discard the trash. In every single thing I listen to, I hear something that I wouldn't choose to do. I might not necessarily dislike it, but I would do it differently if I were playing or writing it. That's part of what gives you your voice. I like to think that when you filter something out from one source, you acquire a more desirable version of it from another source. You might like player A's note choices, but not their vibrato. You might like player B's vibrato, but not their notes. See where I'm going with this? Another filter is genre. One of the best pieces of advice I got from one of my modern guitar heroes was, whatever you check out, do it authentically. What he meant by this was that if you're going to play country music, really do the homework. Check out the people who made it what it is. Don't just go in and do the thing you already do. You can do that after you've done your homework and absorb the content. Don't play your idea or perception of the thing. Play the thing itself, and subsequently add that to your total musical being if you so desire. The reason that genre is such a good filter is that each genre has idioms that make it what it is. The way country guitarists play over a blues is wildly different from how jazz guitarists would. It's incorporating all this different content that will help you develop a unique voice. Even if you choose not to branch out in terms of genre, you can still develop your own style by exploring different players and instruments within a genre. So many jazz guitarists sound the way they do because they didn't just check out guitarists, they checked out saxophonists. Stevie Ray Vaughan didn't sound like an Albert King clone because he also checked out Lightning Hopkins and Lonnie Mack, among others. If you just want to play traditional blues and not country music, that's cool, but you have to do more than check out Stevie Ray Vaughan, or else you'll just sound like a bad Stevie Ray ripoff. The world doesn't need another one of those. When I play bebop, I check out saxophone players and piano players. When I play Cajun and bluegrass music, I check out fiddle, accordion, and mandolin players. Because of this, I'm never going to sound like anyone but me, and that's how you'll sound like you. Okay, so I'm checking out a player I like and learning some notes. So what do I do once I've grabbed a lick? How do I turn licks into language? Well, let's talk about Theseus's ship. Most of you may be familiar with this, but the question is this. If you were to replace a wooden ship plank by plank, at what point does it become a new ship? The ship is our lick, our piece of language. Obviously, the concept of newness is fluid and not binary. At some point, the lick is somewhere in the middle, part new and part old. But the idea here is that you want to be able to dismantle and vary your lick piece by piece until you can distill it into a bunch of small parts that you can infinitely rearrange. So if I'm playing this lick over a 5-to-1 minor, I can play this, this, or this. And that's just a few of the possibilities. Hopefully you can hear how they're mostly the same general idea, but with a different execution. Now, this isn't about learning this lick and my variations. This is the process that you have to do on your own, using your own influences. What happens after we do this many times with many different sources is that we start to become so intimately familiar with the cells or little constructive bits of the lick that we can form new content on the fly. Think of going to a foreign country with a language you don't speak. At first, you're going to learn full sentences that you can repeat. Where's the park? But those sentences only have one meaning. It's not until you start to deconstruct and understand the sentence's parts that you can form new and different sentences that mean entirely different things. If you do this with where's the park and I'm at the library, eventually you'll get to where's the library and I'm at the park. Music works the same way. This is the mental shift we need to make when we work on improvising. We want to start thinking about language in this way, deeply comprehending its constituent parts instead of repeating the whole thing. People often talk about the myth of improvisation, the idea that you can't play anything that you haven't played before. That is and isn't true. Each cell is old, but the order may be new. We can say sentences we've never thought of before because we understand the words that make it up. Part of attaining fluency is expanding our vocabulary. We need to have different cells to rearrange. Sure, we don't need to know 10,000 words because we can make thousands of sentences with a fraction of that. But we can only make so many sentences with 20 words. One more thing. You might have noticed that I used a couple different words that seemed interchangeable. Cell, lick, phrase, etc. Actually, each of those means something slightly different to me. I sort of think of them like Russian dolls. In order of size, from smallest to largest, they are cell, lick, and phrase. Cells make up licks, which in turn make up phrases. To me, cells may be words, a lick a clause, and a phrase a sentence. Maybe licks are sentences and phrases are paragraphs. I don't know, it's not really that important. You can call them electron, atom, and molecule for all I care. This is not some standardized system or anything, it's just how I think. What is important is being able to break things down into small enough pieces so that you're not trying to copy and paste large chunks of information. Again, use the parts to make new ideas as opposed to trying to use the same idea itself. Perhaps you're struggling with this part of the equation, or maybe you're a little discouraged or overwhelmed by its difficulty. Well, let me share a quote from Hal Galper. You learn the process by doing the process. You're not going to figure this out from a book or video. You need to pick up your instrument and start doing it. Same with all the stuff I've mentioned in this series. Are these videos a catch-all for improvising? No. These pieces of the puzzle should be practiced and focused on individually to really isolate specific skills. But ultimately, improvisation means doing all of this simultaneously. Your time and feel also need to be exceptional. You still need to play with people, preferably those better than you. A good teacher will help with all of that and will both play with you and help you accelerate the process by making you aware of your shortcomings and how to troubleshoot them. If you found these videos helpful, you can always donate if you feel so inclined. I also give private lessons whenever my schedule allows, so you can book one of those if you like. I'll include links in the description. Still, the farther you get along the path to mastery, the less a teacher can give you the answers, and the more they lead you to where you want to be. In other words, as one of my professors used to say, I cannot teach you, I can only guide you. You must teach yourself. Thanks for watching. Happy shedding.